Okay. We're here at the International Conference in Vienna with Helene Gayle, who we interviewed last in Toronto when you were chair of the conference, and there's been so much has happened, especially today.
Right.
Just today. But there's been so much that hasn't happened. There's been a lot of issues around women's issues that we languish over the problems that exist today, and I know you've covered a lot of those in the disparaging issues throughout the press conferences, and I'd like you to address some of that now for us.
Well, women increasingly are impacted by this epidemic in parts of the world, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa. Women and adolescent girls now make up the majority of new HIV infections. And that's why this news on the Caprisa trial of a microbicide that for the first time showed positive results is so encouraging, because we have not had really encouraging news on the prevention technology front for women. And so this will hopefully provide a new tool that women can use to protect themselves against HIV infection, given the fact that girls and women really do bear a large brunt of this epidemic around the world. And in the United States, the rates of transmission of HIV in women have been rising over the last decade as well. So, this has been a big issue, and we know that women and girls are biologically, as well as in many situations socially and culturally, at great risk for HIV. And so it's a major concern, and one where I think we have to put more focus.
And it's where they get more control back.
Right.
Of their lives and the course of the situations that occur. And this, of course, will take some time till we get this product available, but it seems like, and it will be some iterations, there's some changes that have to happen, but it seems like this is really good news.
It's incredibly promising news.
So I'm excited about that. I mean, that's the good news. Of course, there's still, like you say, problems, and I just talked to some gentlemen from the Ukraine, being kicked out of a clinic. There's problems going on like that all over the world, and even in our own country, we have people that are waiting for drugs. What is it going to take to get governments, even our own government in the United States, to realize how important treatment is after we've got all the science to prove it, and that they can actually apply the reality, to address the reality by applying the drugs that can actually save lives where it's needed?
Well, I think the good news is that in the last decade, the access to treatment, HIV treatment, has increased more than tenfold. And so now around the world, over 5 million people have access to antiretroviral therapy, and that includes people living in poor countries. So we know it can be done, but I think we have to make sure that we continue to get the kind of resources that will allow us to expand that treatment and really reach our goal of universal access to treatment.
We've come a long way, but we need to go so much further.
Exactly.
Yeah. Are there any other areas that you care to address to the public? Because I know that you've really covered so much territory you have a very busy schedule, and you manage your time very nicely.
Well, I think this is a really an encouraging conference in many ways, with the breakthroughs in prevention, with the fact that tools that are available are being applied more, and the fact that we are moving forward in access to treatment. So, I think this is in many ways a very encouraging conference, and I look forward to 2 years from now in Washington, D.C., hearing more good news. We recognize that there's still a ways to go, and this is a tough battle. But increasingly, we're showing that we have the will, we have resources, and we've got to make sure we keep our eyes on the resources, but we have resources, we've got the will, and we've got the tools in many cases, and we're getting new tools. And so I think that's encouraging.
Can we move from that flat place to increase funding? And I know that the Global Fund is, of course, looking the same way.
Well, I hope we can. I think we all recognize that these are tough economic times, but ultimately it's pay now or pay later. If we don't pay the price today, we will be paying an even greater price as time goes on. And so I think, as President Clinton said, we can't be penny wise and pound foolish.
Well, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure to talk. I hope we meet in Washington, D.C.